Welcome. Thank you for joining me. This is Laurie of Laurie's Heirloom Sewing. Let's see. Yesterday, when I left off, we were working on the bib portion of the apron that I need to finish. This is Friday. This apron needs to be finished up by today. So it is the McCall's Fashion Accessories number 2947. And we are creating the view E right there. It's like a pinafore, and I don't know if you've ever seen a pinafore or made a pinafore. When my two girls were younger, I used to make the Daisy Kingdom, non-sponsored by the way, little pinafore. You cut them out. It was like a piece of fabric that you bought with this little printed design, and you would cut it out and make it into a dress and a matching pinafore. And that's what this apron basically is. It is basically a penny, a pinafore, or an apron. They're all the same thing. Because I need to finish this one by today, I'm going to Larify this pattern and change it to suit my quickly. I need to sew this one fast. The second one that I've cut out, I will follow so that we know exactly what this particular pattern is looking for and wants us to do. So, what I'm going to do now is talk about this pack of zippers that I just got yesterday. Again, non-sponsored. This is a pack from the company YKK. This is their business card that comes in this cute little zipper pouch. It's kind of like a little trapezoid shape. Got thread everywhere. And all except for this, all these zippers were in that pack. The zippers are literally from the end of the zipper here to the zipper pull, and where the zipper pull ends are 14 inches. And then of course you have the little extra pieces on the ends. I buy the 14 inch or the 12 inch or even longer, 16 inches, because if I need to I can shorten them up. And I loved the colors. It's a new selection by YKK, and I bought this on Amazon. So it's basically lights, darks, neons, and then the hot colors like, red, orange, white. And then I've got these little lights and some brighter neon colors. They're all the same length, and they have this nice large zipper pull, and they're great for bags. The colors, I just thought they were a great color. I don't remember how much they were, but I'll try to link it below. I will say that I noticed in the last couple of days, if I've got something in my Amazon shopping cart, the prices are changing. They're either, changing, they're decreasing in price by a couple of cents, or they are increasing in price by a couple of cents. So, I'm looking for another pre-cut bundle, and to be honest, if I were able to find what I wanted at my local shops, I would be there every day. But I'm not able to find what I want, and even if I give feedback, I just sort of get brushed off. So I feel like if local businesses want the local customers to shop, and I'm not even going to bash my area, I'm just going to say Pacific Northwest, they need to listen to what their clients are saying and their customers are saying and what the desire is. And I don't think my requests are that far out of line than anybody else's. I think pre-cut bundles are a great way for people to kind of just go in and get, their eye sees the blues or the greens or the grays or whatever it is that they're looking for. And to not be able to find that in their local shops is a travesty. Secondly, I wanted to point out I keep these cards because They are, they're great. They're heavyweight, and I don't mean just this business's card, but if you receive a business card from a company and you just kind of don't feel like you need it, because we all have access to the internet and we can get the information off the card if we need to. But these make great palette knives. They work great for that. If you're drawing and you need a straight edge on a small piece of paper, you got one. You can also use it when you're painting to kind of paint, you know, that faded out edge. If you're drafting a small pattern, they're great. I mean, you've got corners, you've got little short lines. It's heavyweight, it's not going anywhere. So I just pop them in my drawer over here beside me, and I use them all the time. Okay, so now, put that over there. My directions that I need are right here. And I am going to be modifying my pattern to a certain degree. And I'm going to try to get you guys where you can see what we're working on here. Okay, so this is the bib portion of our apron slash pinafore slash penny. And if you look at, let's see if I can find it. I want to kind of give you a close-up view. Turn that way. And we are looking at this, no, not that one, this one right here. Right there. That is what we're making. So you can see that the bib attaches to the waistband at the center. And then we have the straps that go up from the center of the waistband, up the side of the bib, and then they will attach in the back. That's what ours is doing. The way that you get the straps onto the bib portion is kind of, for lack of a better word, and because it's really early and I haven't had enough coffee, I'm just going to say it's convoluted. I think it would be really difficult for the vast majority of beginning sewers to figure that out. It's not hard once you've done it once, but there's a lot of terminology in the directions that really just doesn't kind of gel right out the gate with somebody who's just learning the processes of sewing. So I'm going to change it up. I already have, initially our edges were supposed to be raw, all except for across the top, which is a folded edge. So this was a raw edge, and this over here on the other side was a raw edge, as is still across the bottom a raw edge of fabric. And then we were supposed to just baste all of that together and then enclose that with our strap pieces. So what I plan to do is I need to press these. I have 2 pieces, which is the required amount of pieces for this. Each side requires 2 pieces. So for one apron, you should have a total of 4 pieces for the straps. They need to be pressed, and I'm going to starch these rather heavily because I don't want slipping and sliding. I want to be able to manage. I want the fabric to feel a little bit more like paper and a little bit less like fabric. And I'm going to stitch wrong sides, let's see, how can I say, right sides together. My fabric is non-sided. In other words, I mean, it might be, but the difference being that it's a true woven, the color on one side is exactly the same as the color on the other side. It's a Kona cotton. But if your fabric is printed and it has a right side and a wrong side, if you're doing what I'm doing, it should be right sides together on the inside, and you should be looking at the wrong side of each piece on the strap. So you would have right sides facing and wrong sides out. And then after I press and I get that all set up, I am going to stitch along one long side and across the bottom of one short end, not both ends, just one. So it'll be like an L. I'm going to go across the bottom and then all the way down one long side, and then I'm done. And I'm going to do that on both sides. So, and I might not be finished at that point. It's just that I know I need to enclose the bib with my two stitched pieces. And I want those to be able to turn out all the way down. So that's why I'm doing it that way. So, and please remember, I appreciate your patience. I still don't know how to pause the videos. So just hang in there while I go do this pressing. I'm hoping that my editing skills can edit out some of these long stretches where I'm not on camera or I'm not doing something that you can see. We'll see what happens. But if I'm still talking when you see this video, we're going to say I am starching and I am pressing. I'm using steam. If you use enough steam and enough if you use enough starch when you are pressing your fabric, for whatever type of fabric it is, no, that's not what I meant. If you're using starch on cotton fabric and you use enough starch on your cotton fabric, you're less likely to have those issues where you aren't able to control your fabric when you're sewing. It almost acts like a lightweight stabilizer. And I find that my sewing machine really responds so much better to starched fabric, especially if it's heavily starched. It's like having, you know, a piece of paper behind your fabric as you're sewing, and it works, for me it works so much better than just the lightweight, you know, kind of flimsy cotton. I get so much better results. Even my thread, my needle thread and my bobbin thread just react so much better. Oh, sorry. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to put the two ends together, and I'm only going to take a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I might have to do a little bit of math because the initial seam allowance for sewing this whole entire project is 5/8 of an inch. So I may be doing a little bit of math later today. It's not going to happen without coffee. Okay, so now what I'm doing here, let's see if you can see that. I have stitched along this line. Let me see if I can zoom you in a little bit. Oop, dee-dee. Okay, so my fabric was like this, and I stitched along here. Now I'm going to lift up my presser foot and I'm turning my fabric so that it is at a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to drop my presser foot and take one stitch. And then I'm going to pick up my presser foot and turn my fabric straight, and then drop my presser foot so that I have I'm going to use this little card. So I stitched along here, if this is my fabric, and then I took an angle stitch in the corner. So it looks like this little pen doesn't want to work. Okay, so these are my stitches right here. Whoa, back up. Whoa, it's all fuzzy. I don't know if that's ever going to show up. If you can kind of see the black dash lines across the top. And then I just took an angle stitch like that, and now I'm going to go back down the long side. I don't know if that was helpful or not. The reason I do that is it turns out when I flip it around to the right sides being out instead of the wrong sides being out, it just looks prettier in that corner. Keeping everything nice and straight-ish. I can tell that these aren't even, the pieces of fabric aren't. So I'm going to have to do another row of stitching after I make some trim on this piece of fabric. I remember when I cut these, they weren't straight. Yeah, that right there slipped. Okay. All right, so that's going to be some interesting issues right there. Let me see what happens if I press this out. I do still have the width I need. Okay. But I do want to trim it. I don't want to have a big bulky seam in here. And I think I got a little bit close to the edge at one point. Nope, that's okay. Yep, that's all right, and that's all right. Okay. Alrighty. Do the second side. It's interesting how it is so dark outside right now, and it is 7, it's almost 10 after 7 a.m. on December 6th, 2019. I'm just not fond of the time change, and I don't know. There's some who really like the gray dark mornings and the early evenings where it gets dark outside at 4. Okay, I'm exaggerating, 4:30. But for me, you know, I'm a person who likes the light, and I find it easier course, you know, easy isn't really an option for some, so I shouldn't be so selfish, but it's, for me, like walking my dog, it's usually done in the late afternoon, early evening is when we do take the dogs for their walks. And I don't really like to walk when it's dark outside. I just don't. So for me, I prefer when we are in that period of time where you have a little bit more light during the day and a little bit more light in the evening. As opposed to this time of year where it's just dark all the time. I mean, it's after 7 a.m. and I still can't see the sky. Oh well, December 21st will be here soon, and then everything will turn around. It takes a while, it's slow change, but I guess it's good for us. Okay, now I'm going to do that angle stitch, and I'm going to run down the other side. Okay, this set of straps is 100 times better than the first set that I did. So I'm going to just press up the second or a third set rather than put you guys through the agony of watching me unpick stitches. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to do what I had initially planned to do, which is open this up and use my handy dandy paintbrush and push that corner through nice and tight like that. And you can trim the excess fabric. In fact, I think I will. Just to take out some of the bulk. Just make sure that you don't cut through your little stitch there, or you'll be cutting out another set of straps. Okay, now that should turn out pretty. Poke it through. Okay. And now I'm going to take this over to the ironing board and press out this seam so it's nice and flat. I could do a finger press, but I'd rather just go ahead and use the iron. I'll be right back. I'm trying to think what the word would be for, when you are the mother of a child who is married and that child's mother is what? I mean, is she just my son-in-law's mother, or does she have a name in the family? You know, like mother-in-law. Oh, I guess I'm just thinking too hard. I don't know. I was trying to decide if there's an actual word for that person. But anyway, I made my son-in-law's mom a tote bag and a little, I don't know what you'd call it, like a little drawstring bag that goes inside. And I finished that up yesterday, and I gave it to him so he can send it to her. She lives overseas, and I just really hope that she likes it. It was fun to make. Okay, so here we are. We have the finished end that we just did right here, and that I'm going to put on that side, all the way over on the back side. So the unfinished edge of this will go on the unfinished edge of the bib right here. And I'm just going to match this up to see how that, yeah, that works. I'm happy with that. All right. So that will be good. Okay, so then I'm just going to pull this in. And that's probably why they want you to just baste that together, so you don't have basically 4 pieces of fabric in that seam. That's not going to be a problem for me. It actually kind of looks like piping by the time you're done. Okay, so if I fold this halfway in to, that's still going to be too much fabric. Okay. Well, we'll just have to fold it twice and then pin along that edge. And I know I haven't pinned the back yet. I'm just going to see how this works all the way down. Okay, fine. I may end up having to clip it because I'm going through so much fabric. Here we go. All right. Design as we go. That's what I'm doing. Okay. All right, now I will flip it over to this other side. And again. I actually like how sturdy it feels right here. It has sort of a utilitarian feel to it. Like, this is a pinafore bodice. I like that. Okay, so I think based on what I'm seeing, what I'm going to need to do here is a couple of things. One, I'm going to need to trim the seam allowance down, which may actually require wearing my glasses. No, I can see. My thread is almost a perfect match, which is great, but when you need to wear glasses, sometimes sometimes that can be difficult. Okay, I'm going to keep trimming until I get past where the, and you might even find it easier to, if you're doing this exactly as I am, you might find it easier to use a rotary cutter and ruler for this. Okay. And sometimes you can just grade, which is the process of taking one layer of your seam allowance and trimming it smaller. The other layer then becomes kind of like a support for that. We'll talk about that in upcoming videos. Okay. Right, so I may end up actually having to trim some of this out too, which would eliminate the need for the notch at the top. But because my applique is so close to the edge here, I actually may have to trim down my my strap edges along this edge. And quite frankly, I could just trim them down all the way to accommodate this new bodice that I've created. I think if I trimmed it down by 1/4 of an inch all the way to the end, it would work just fine, and it's still a decent sized shoulder strap. But before I start cutting on it, I want to make sure that that's something I have to do. So I'm going to take my glass head pins. You can press on top of a glass head pin if you need to. So anytime I think I might be going to the ironing board, I will use a glass head pin on my project for that reason. I cannot recall, oh, this isn't straight. I cannot recall where I purchased these. Good chance, very, very good chance that it was on Amazon, but I can't guarantee that. There is also a good chance that I purchased them on at Joann. That is also a very distinct possibility. Okay, I'm finger pressing in a bit on the sides, and then I'm going to line up my side seam here with my strap seam here. I want those pretty much aligned. Then okay, that's perfectly aligned right there along that edge. And then if I fold this under all the way back, glass head pin. And the one thing about this particular brand of glass head pin, if I'm not mistaken, they're Clover. I want to say they're Clover. They are gorgeous pins. They are clear glass on the top. But they are a very high gauge wire, which makes them very thin, which makes them very bendable. So when you're trying to pin them through multiple layers of fabric, you will definitely bend these pins. There are other glass head pins on the market that are not as pretty as these are. This is one right here, the little white glass head pin. This is a smaller gauge wire. It's like an 18 gauge. And they are not as bendable. So I think it seems like I remember the box on these that I'm using right now said that they were 20. They feel more, well, the amber colored ones feel like a 20 gauge. The green ones feel more like a 22 gauge. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I would have to clip that out or trim this. So as you can see, if we just work with our strap, we can get both sides the same width and then just stitch all the way down, and then we'll have our straps attached to both sides of our the bib on our apron. So rather than put you through the agony of watching me do both sides, I'm going to go ahead and get them both pinned and set in place and stitched. If for some reason I do decide to do something different, I'll stop what I'm doing and capture that for you. But this is pretty much what I believe I will be doing for both. So that should be done when I come back, and I'm just going to go ahead and end the video here. I have a whole bunch of pieces that I need to upload, and that's what I'll be doing. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a fabulous Friday, December 6th, 2019. And as the sun rises today, I hope that you find encouragement and inspiration. And I will see you back here probably tomorrow. Thanks again.